our senior defensive tackle. So I'll turn it over to Zach first.
First, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out, supporting us. You know, me and Lance, we've been talking about it over the past week since we've been knowing about it. We feel honored to come and represent the university and the football team. And also, you know, this past spring, we've been really focused on hard work, and then in the summer and finishing like we did last year. You know, we had a great season last year with 8 wins, you know, exceeded some expectations. But this year we want to go a little further and continue that tradition.
I'd just like to say thank y'all for giving us the privilege to be in front of y'all today, and accordingly, we want to just represent our university the best way that we can possibly. And so I'm just happy to be here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Also, like Zach's been talking about, we've been doing big things this summer and all off season. We got our freshmen in earlier this summer, which we feel like a lot of them are going to contribute to the program early on, and a couple of them might have to redshirt, but they're going to be great players in the long run. But so far, the chemistry has been excellent. We've been building, been grinding this whole summer. We're gonna shock the world and a lot of people this upcoming year.
Okay, we have microphones on the floor, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you a microphone, and if you'll introduce yourself and your news agency.
Hey, Zach, maybe talk about how the offense is going to be different now that Gus is gone. You had him to turn to, and he's such a great player. Just talk about the challenges that in continuing the progress of the offense without Gus Johnson.
Yes, sir. Obviously, losing a guy like Gus, you know, I guess it was a three-time All-American. It definitely hurts. You know, he was, I want to say, half the offense, but you know, we know that as an offense and as a team, that replacing him is going to be a big challenge for us. But, you know, we have all 5 of my offensive linemen coming back. That's huge. Experience is everything, especially when it comes down to the run game. But also, I'm going to take that burden upon myself, because that makes me have to be a better player, have to be a better quarterback. I have to make the guys around me better, especially at receiver. Last year was a good season for me, obviously, but it can be better, and that's what I've been trying to improve on this past spring and summer.
And I'll add to that, Kevin. You know, we feel like we've got 3 quality backs there. We've got Josh West, rising junior, who's played a lot of football for us. Really had a breakout year as a true freshman 2 years ago. Fred Ford's been in the program for 5 years, 5th-year senior from Kirbyville. And Cameron Washington also be a senior in our program, who had some spot play for us last year. So possibly see a contributing freshman at that position as well. So we, you know, obviously Gus has been a big part of the run game for his entire career, but those 3 gentlemen have positioned themselves through their careers at the university to step up. And when one door closes, one opens. And obviously they're excited about having a chance to fill that void at the running back position.
Clint, Alex Hickey, Lake Charles American Press. You know, what do you have to do? I know last year certainly making the playoffs was probably a good enough accomplishment for this team considering where things had been, but what has to change to take that next step and be ready to play playoff caliber teams in the postseason?
Well, we need to get a home game. I mean, we're at a tremendous disadvantage as a conference whenever we have to. Well, first of all, whenever they match us up against each other, that's not real cool, right? Sam Houston had to play Southeastern last year, but we need to, you know, be able to get a home game. I think when you have to travel in the postseason, and I've been very fortunate and humbled to have that opportunity at 2 different schools now, but you know, when you travel, you're at such a huge disadvantage. It's a short week, and we probably went into one of the most difficult places in the country, the Unidome, against a team that had beaten both North Dakota State and Illinois State. So, you know, your body of work probably just needs to be a little bit better. We lost to Abilene Christian, missed a 27-yard field goal on literally the last play of the game. And, we need to finish games a little bit better, and our schedule is very difficult this year, Alex. We've got what's perceived as the contenders in the conference, with the exception of McNeese, all on the road. And probably many of you are asking, where did the lone vote for Central Arkansas come from? It was me, and I'm not. And the reason why is because they've won 85% of their home games since moving into this conference, maybe closer to 90%. And if you look at their schedule, they have all the contenders at home, with the exception of maybe Northwestern. So, your schedule, the way it falls, we've got a lot of work to do to exceed last year's accomplishments, but certainly that's what we're working for every day, and we feel very confident that our young men are doing that. We've got to, the secret and the key to this, and I sit up every year and say, is you better win your home games, and you better try to find a way to steal a couple on the road. We did that last year, with the exception really of the Abilene and the UCA game, and we won some road games that maybe we shouldn't have won, and that's going to be the key again this year, because we've got to go into some very, very difficult environments.
Zach, Richard Dow, Fox 29, McNeese State's radio. Just asking you, obviously growing up around the Southland Conference, growing up around football, seen a lot of great quarterbacks out of this conference. What experience, not only from, of course, being part of a football family, have you been able to draw from, but, kind of looking at the guys in the past, and what goals have you set personally for yourself?
Oh, man. Speaking of one of the greats is Nathan Brown, the office coordinator at UCA right now. And, he made that transition from the D2 to D1 into the Southland Conference. And as a little boy, I always looked up to him and his playing style and how he led and how good he was. And he's probably the best quarterback to ever come out of UCA. And so I try to set my game after him. He went day in, day out, competed. He led his guys on both sides of the field. Everybody looked up to him. And so I try to mold my game around him. And as you said, goals. I don't have very many individual goals. I think the main goals should be collectively as a team. And so obviously, you want to win your home opener. I think that's the first one. You want to win your rivalry games, and we have 2 of those. I want to keep the Chief back in NAC, and we need to pull one out to Piney Woods. And obviously, the next goal is to win conference and make appearance in the playoffs and make a run there.
And for those of you who aren't sure, Nathan Brown was the player of the year in our league in 2008. I think he's 2nd or 3rd, 4th, somewhere in the record books in our conference. So, pretty good player.
Hey, Lance, maybe speak on, you got a lot of your buddies back over there on defense. We was talking last night about how many defensive players you got back in the line, and a lot of experience over there.
Well, coming back, up front, we have Donald Bryant, Shavion Hammond, which are 2 seniors going to be playing defensive tackles. They're transfers, but they're great players, great teammates. Then on the edge, we got a young defensive end named Kedrick Harrison, who's going to be a phenomenal player in the long run for us. And he's going to be a junior this year. And then right now, the strong defensive end, we have competition between, John Franklin and Zimmerly Mitchell. And they're young players, but they're good. Both of them just young and hungry. And then that's probably going to be the starting defensive line. But the second group that we rotate with, they're just as phenomenal. Some of them could probably transfer right now and go start somewhere if they had to.
I hope they don't.
But they're not.
Don't encourage that.
But probably to me, I say defensive line is probably going to be the heart of the defense, because once we get rolling, everybody else just falls in line, and we just set the tempo up front.
I think in our 2 deep, we lost 1 on the offensive and defensive line, and that was Ishmael Miles. So we'd like to think the strength is going to be along our offensive and defensive line. Certainly our experience returning at quarterback.
Zach, how much, you guys have to move on without Gus, as Kevin had asked about earlier. How much of that game you played here in Lake Charles last season, where they were able to shut down Gus and you kind of helped become the focal point of the offense, what did that game do for your confidence?
Oh, man, it was huge. We knew going in that their game plan was to stop the run game. And to me, throughout the entire season. They were probably the most successful at doing so. And going in those practices and talking to Coach Q, we knew that I was going to have to beat them to the air. And I think we had maybe 60 yards rushing that game between the two of us. But it was definitely huge. That was probably the point at the season to where the game started really, really slowing down for me. And things became more natural. I wasn't thinking as much. It was just kind of going out there and playing ball, you know, like in the backyard when I was in 4th grade. So I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was one of my games that were more natural and easier.
It's always difficult to win in the hole in Lake Charles. Having coached here and competed in this arena, it's a tough place to play.